The movie begins with a man named Teddy. He tries to shoot advertisements for some of the products he wants to launch. He starts with a rubber band and plastic bodysuit to raise body temperature during exercise and various products which all backfire despite his dedication and passion. A car is seen driving in the Utah desert. It stops near a hut and a man comes out. The man contacts a killer known as the Man from Toronto to come and get information from the captive man. Toronto arrives, and he looks terrifying. Captive tries not to speak. But as Toronto warms up his knife and starts talking about how he's going to torture that man, the man becomes horrified and confesses all the information he's been hiding. He leaves and the man shoots the captive. Teddy is with his wife and wishes her a happy birthday. He promises that he will take her to a cabin for her birthday. Lori loves him very much and tries to tell him to stop doing things without results, especially since her colleagues always make fun of her husband. He is offended when he learns that his name is being used in this way but admits that he has made many mistakes. She encourages him to pitch his business idea to his boss, Marty. He promises her he will try. He goes to work and presents brochures to all the passers-by. At the gym where he works, he shares his idea of boxing with his boss, but his boss calls it the dumbest idea ever and scolds him for forgetting to add the address and number on the booklets and throws them in the trash and kicks him out. Toronto arrives home in Toronto, where he had a wonderful house with a cherry tree. While making a fancy breakfast for himself, he receives a call from someone named Handler. He tells him about a deal in which he will pay $1 million, which catches his attention. He tells him that he should head to a cabin in a certain area. Teddy and Lori arrive at their vacation spot. He leaves his wife at the beauty spa while he goes to fix up the cabin, but he misreads the cabin number and gets to the wrong cabin. In the cabin the man there thinks Teddy is Toronto and believes the box he has with him contains deadly tools. Teddy acts like himself and the misunderstanding continues until the man takes him downstairs and the man tells him to take information from the victim who is there. Teddy freaks out and tries to run away, but the gang won't let him. He realizes what's going on and tries to act like he's Toronto. He starts to scare the guy, but he whispers the truth to him, saying that he should give them the information so that they both can get out of there. He succeeds and gets the information from the man. One of the gang members sends information to the colonel, but before they can escape a grenade is dropped in the basement and the wall is shattered. We discover that the entire area was surrounded by police. Teddy is arrested, but the FBI agents soon realize that Teddy can't be Toronto, but the detectives can't let him go, because the man in the trailer who let Teddy in has taken a picture of him and sent it to Marin. Marin was the former Venezuelan colonel whose plan to overthrow his country's government was destroyed by the CIA. From then on, he decided to take revenge. They explained to him that Marin and his wife are planning something they don't know about, and Toronto was the perfect way to find out. They ask him to keep acting like Toronto and get close to Marin so they can get the information they want. He tries to refuse, but they convince him that an agent named Santoro will take care of his wife and keep her distracted by the shopping. Santoro had good looks and that made Teddy uncomfortable. He negotiates with them to cover his debts in return for his cooperation. He tells his wife that he has a show and Marty wants him to come, and he tells her he'll meet her tomorrow. Meanwhile, Toronto sneaks into the cabin crime scene and obtains the receipt bearing Teddy's name and details. He hacks his account and finds his workout video. He talks to Handler and they discuss what to do. He tracks down Teddy as the agents bring him to meet Daniela, the colonel's wife, instead of meeting Marin. Daniela has her men take Teddy with them to where the planes are. Toronto gets into the agent's car and forces him to catch up to the cars. Teddy ends up on a plane to Puerto Rico. Toronto sneaks onto the plane and reveals himself as the man they were looking for, but they don't believe him and still believe Teddy is the real killer. Then Toronto proves himself by killing Marine's men. He also saves Teddy after he was about to fall out of the plane. They land in a field and walk off as the plane explodes. Handler calls Toronto and berates him for not killing Teddy, because they are not supposed to leave any witnesses alive, but Toronto needed Teddy because Marin thinks Teddy is Toronto. He tells Teddy that they have to find a green guy, and to bring him to Marin. On a golf course in Miami, a man in a pink t-shirt got out of a golf cart and was approached by two men. He introduces himself as the man from Miami and proceeds to kill one of the men with a golf club. The other man escapes and the man from Miami gets a call from Handler telling him to go to Puerto Rico for $2 million. He agrees and turns his golf club into a shotgun and shoots the fleeing man. Teddy and Toronto arrive in Puerto Rico and Toronto does his best teaching Teddy how to act to make people think he is Toronto. They arrive at a conference, and Teddy is taken to a room where 4 men are being held. An official tells him that one of those men is Green Guy and he must identify him and then get him to Marin in Washington. Toronto tells Teddy what to do to intimidate the men with his actions and knives. He does his best to act like a Toronto, and while brandishing a knife he accidentally cuts one of the men, which causes him to vomit on that man and on another man. So Green Guy immediately admits. A gang member notices that Teddy is wearing an earphone and they are about to attack him when Toronto arrives and kills them all. They ask Green Guy why Marin needs him and he tells them how he used to work with them where they made seismic explosives that can't be traced since the explosion is similar to an earthquake, and he tells them that 2 years ago their former boss, General Hunson, asked for their help on a secret project for an unnamed client. And this agent was Marin, and he needed Green Guy because one of the things that was preserved in the process of making explosives was Green Guy's thumbprint. He plans to use explosives to blow up the Venezuelan embassy in Washington. Toronto cuts off Green Guy's thumb, much to Teddy's disgust. Then they head to Washington. They needed Teddy to give the thumbs up, but he refused. Meanwhile, the man from Miami attacks them, and they fight, and Teddy is thrown on one of the figures. Toronto manages to get rid of the man from Miami and helps Teddy. He gets a call from Handler and gives him an update, but Teddy notices he's lying to Toronto. But Toronto doesn't believe him and they continue on to Washington. On the plane, he tells Toronto that he fails to achieve success because he is a coward and does not do what he says. That night they go to dinner with Lori, who comes with her friend Ann, who Toronto has a crush on. The FBI has been tracking Teddy and they notice him with Toronto. Teddy notices the arrival of the man from Miami. He holds them and takes Green Guy's thumb from them. It is revealed that Handler sent the man from Miami. They steal the police car and go to meet Marin. He tells Teddy that he did not kill his target in Minnesota because the man had a young child waiting for him in the car. Then the man who had left him set off, which is something he blames himself for so far. He says that now he doesn't want to kill anyone, he just wants money and maybe he'll open a restaurant. Meanwhile, the man from Miami and Handler give the thumbs up to Marin, but Teddy spoils the deal by pretending to be Toronto. Although Handler insists it's not him, thumb does not work and the FBI arrive to arrest Marin. Toronto flees with the money while the man flees from Miami and Handler. The FBI discovers that the thumb was actually the property of Marin's henchman as Randy chooses not to let Marin get armed. Teddy returns home to find that Lori has left him and moved into her mother's place after learning he lost his job and lied to her. He runs to stop her, but is attacked by the man from Miami and at the right moment Toronto arrives to save him. They fight several other assassins summoned by Handler. Handler appears and demands the money in the trunk with the Toronto. And after a chase in which Handler fires grenades at Teddy, they end up in a factory. Handler threatens them but Teddy pulls one of the keys and Handler falls into a boiling vat where he gets burned. Teddy faces one last killer, the man from Tokyo, but Toronto confronts him. Teddy gets in the car and goes to Lori and reconciles with her at the train station, but he accidentally stops the car on the tracks and the car is destroyed by the oncoming train. This is what makes the money fly. The FBI arrives to handle the matter. A year later, Teddy and Lori were expecting a baby. Toronto managed to realize his dream of opening his own restaurant, and he was in a relationship with Ann. Teddy announces that Toronto is his partner in the new gym and offers him money to replace the car, but Toronto refuses to take it. Make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications to watch more videos like this.